Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in. It's a busy one. Federal agents detained nearly 500 workers during an immigration raid at a Hyundai battery plant. This was a construction site near Savannah, Georgia, an operation that has rattled U.S.-South Korea relations and is shining the spotlight on how some companies staffs its biggest industrial projects. We have the latest on this. Another adult is in the spotlight because of her behavior at a sports event. This time it's a mom who bullied another Phillies fan into handing over a baseball that he caught and gave to his son, even though he had every right to keep the ball. Despite years of violence and mental illness, the madman charged with killing a Ukrainian refugee in Charlotte, North Carolina, was free on cashless bail. It's just another example of a violent crime that should have not happened. Clemson University has shut down multiple commissions tasked with advising the school on diversity issues among its students, staff, and faculty. This was effective September 3rd. Is it a coincidence that this happened right after the Heritage Foundation called the school out? We have those details, too. And South Carolina GOP Chairman Drew McKissick joins us to talk about the continuing saga of the Pickens County Republican Party reorg. The State Executive Committee heard additional information about this over the weekend.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
All right, folks, let me paint a picture for you. A Hyundai plant being constructed in Georgia. A state-of-the-art facility, $7.6 billion invested, 1,200 workers online, supposedly to be one of the crown jewels of American manufacturing and foreign investment. And then suddenly, Homeland Security agents swarmed the place in what's being called the largest single-site immigration raid in U.S. history. Almost 500 workers, 475 to be exact, were arrested. Nearly half the entire workforce. And the kicker here, most of them were Korean nationals, either here illegally from the start or on expired visas. Now, the footage is pretty jaw-dropping. You saw workers lined up outside, sitting on the grass under the watchful eye of federal agents. For years, we've been told by politicians in both parties that it's just a few bad actors, just a few folks slipping through the cracks. Well, no. This was almost half of the workforce at a massive factory that was being promoted as the future of green energy jobs in America. Now, if that doesn't tell you how deeply broken this system is, I don't know what will. Stephen Schrank, the special agent in charge of Homeland Security investigations in Georgia, put it very plainly. He said the raid was about protecting jobs for Georgians and Americans, making sure companies play by the rules and protecting workers from exploitation. And folks, that last part is important because this isn't just about law and order or even about illegal immigration, although that's a big part of it. This is about massive corporations cutting corners, looking the other way, and using cheap illegal labor while hardworking Americans get passed over. You want to know why wages are stagnant in so many industries? Why American workers can't get ahead? It's because of setups like this. Companies import labor on the cheap, and Washington shrugs Until now. There's a new sheriff in town. You can't ignore the timing. This comes just days after the Trump administration announced it was ending temporary protected status for 256,000 Venezuelans. The message is clear. The second Trump term is not going to play games with illegal immigration. You come here illegally, you overstay your visa, you work in violation of the law, you can get a one-way ticket back to where you came. And if you're a company that hires them, you're going to get caught. That's the kind of enforcement that presidents for decades promised but never delivered. Remember George W. Bush talking about reform? Barack Obama promised hope and change. Joe Biden just flat out rolled out the welcome mat. And what happened? Chaos at the border. Crime, drugs, millions of illegals spreading across the country. President Trump saying things are going to change. No more. Now, of course, the blowback started instantly. South Koreans, the foreign ministry of South Korea lodged a formal protest. They said the rights of Korean citizens must not be infringed during U.S. law enforcement operations. They sent officials straight to the Hyundai plant. Well, you know, they don't have anything to worry about if their Korean citizens are here legally. As far as them telling us what our law enforcement operation can do and cannot do, I think they're a little bit out of their league on that. So let me ask you this. What about the rights of American citizens? What about the Georgians who didn't get those jobs because nearly half the workforce was made up of people here illegally? But the loudest pushback came from the AFL-CIO, the labor union. Their Georgia chapter president, Yvonne Brooks, blasted the raid as politically motivated, saying it created fear and burdened other workers. With all due respect, that argument is upside down. If unions really cared about workers, they'd be applauding the raid, right? Illegal labor depresses wages, drives down standards across the board. Legal American workers, including union workers, by the way, are the ones who suffer when companies cut corners. So I would think that the AFL-CIO would be applauding this effort, right? So why is the AFL-CIO defending Hyundai's illegal hiring practices? Simple. They're right. It is politics. They see everything Trump does through the lens of Orange Man bad. And instead of fighting for American workers, they're siding with the global corporations and foreign nationals. How does that picture just not add up? The raid also raises big questions about foreign investment in America. Hyundai pumped billions into this plant. Georgia politicians from both parties praised it as a once-in-a-generation economic project. It was supposed to bring prosperity and prestige. Now, the entire facility is shut down temporarily. Almost half the workers are in ICE custody. And Americans are left wondering how many other factories, how many other construction sites, how many other warehouses being built are on the same house of cards that could just crumble anytime. It's not just about Hyundai either. It's about Amazon warehouses. It's about poultry plants. It's about construction crews in every major city. If Homeland Security looked under the hood nationwide, how many other, quote, Hyundai raids would we see? And at the heart of this is something very simple. Do we have a nation of laws or do we not? If a small business in Greenville, South Carolina, breaks the rules, the government will be all over them. If you fudge one number on your taxes, the IRS is going to hammer you. But massive corporations, multi-million-dollar global companies, do they get a pass? Well, evidently they did until now. Not anymore, though. Not under Donald J. Trump. And listen, this is also about sovereignty. If foreign nationals can come here illegally, work here illegally, face no consequences, then what does citizenship even mean? What does it mean to be American if the rule of law is applied selectively? Now, let's be clear here. I don't take joy in seeing people rounded up and detained. Many of these workers were probably desperate, trying to provide for their families, put food on the table. And yes, some were exploited by corporations that knew exactly what they were doing. But compassion doesn't mean ignoring the law. Compassion doesn't mean sacrificing American workers on the altar of cheap labor. And compassion certainly doesn't mean allowing a system to persist that incentivizes people to break the law in the first place. Real compassion is a secure border, is legal immigration, is fair wages for all. That's what this raid represents. So here's the bottom line. The largest immigration raid in U.S. history just happened in Georgia. Almost 500 illegal workers detained at this Hyundai plant. The Trump administration is sending a crystal clear message. American sovereignty is back, and the days of looking the other way are over. I don't care how big your project is, how many billions is being invested. There'll be diplomatic protests, of course. There'll be angry union bosses. There'll be sympathetic stories in the press. But the American people, the ones who've been ignored for decades now, they see this for what it is. A win for jobs, a win for fairness, and a win for the rule of law of our land. Now, let me tell you, if this is the kind of energy Trump brings to his second term, the message is unmistakable. America is no longer open for exploitation. America is open for Americans. America first. That's the message here. America first. America is in a health crisis, and by America, not just strangers across the country. It's personal. Me, you, friends, and family. And a major cause? Excess weight. Joey Hudson here. The solution isn't expensive shots like Ozempic. It's learning how to eat and think about food differently, and that's what PhD Weight Loss does. Their clients lose up to a third of their body weight. No drugs, just real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science to turn your body into a fat-burning machine. Sure, you could spend up to $20,000 a year on injections that burn muscle, not fat, and come with risks like pancreatitis or bowel blockages, only to gain it all back. PhD helps your body naturally produce weight loss hormones like GLP-1s. No shortcuts, just results that last. Already on Ozempic? Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team will help you safely transition off and keep losing weight. Let's make America healthy again. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. What is going on at sporting events? And the so-called adults who are there just really making fools of themselves. I mean, last week it was the guy who stole the signed cap at the U.S. Open when the tennis star signed it for a young boy, and the man snatched it from the boy before this young boy even could turn around and hand it to his mom. So now the latest is a Phillies-Marlins game in Miami last Friday. Harrison Bader hit a home run. Classic ballpark moment. One fan, a dad named Drew Feltwell, hustled over, beat out a few other folks. You know how they all go for try to catch the ball, and he came away with a souvenir. He handed the ball to his young son, Lincoln, and shared that once-in-a-lifetime father-son moment every baseball parent dreams of. But then the story took a wild turn. A woman in a Phillies jersey stormed over, screaming vulgarities. I mean, Drew couldn't even repeat what she said when he appeared on Fox News. She demanded the ball because, in her words, that was her section, that was her ball. So, in other words, because he kind of went over behind her and caught the ball, because he was in her section, she thought that she should have gotten the ball, regardless. Doesn't matter, he caught it. Now, think about that. Not a hey grats, not a would you consider trading, not a full-on meltdown in front of the kids on camera over a baseball. That's what happened. A full-on meltdown by this woman. Now, Drew could have stood his ground. By all rights, the ball was his. But instead, he did something most people these days don't. He handed it over. Why? He said to defuse the situation, to set an example for his kids. And as he told Fox News, the world could use a little extra de-escalation. And he's right. Everything feels intense. Politics, sports, even Little League games. People blow up over the smallest things. This man made the call to keep the peace. Do I think the woman behaved horribly? With what I've seen, absolutely. But this man's response, that's how you should react. That's fatherhood. That's being an adult. That's what it looks like to show restraint in a culture addicted to outrage. And here's the good news. This story does have a happy ending. The Phillies organization stepped up. They learned about it. Of course, it's been reported all over the news. They sent this young man, Lincoln, a care package. Harrison Bader himself gave the kid an autographed bat. In the long run, Lincoln got something that even better than the original home run ball. But here's the bigger lesson. This woman, she walked away with the ball, sure. But she also walked away looking like the poster child of selfishness. Drew, He walked away showing his kids how to rise above the nonsense. Sports used to be about community. You take your kid to the game, you cheer for your team, and when a foul ball or a home run lands nearby, it's a chance for fans to come together, not tear each other apart. So maybe the Feltwell family lost a ball, but in reality, they gained something far more important, a story that proves character is worth more than any souvenir ever could be. And to the woman in that Phillies jersey, let's hope the ball really meant something, because you traded your dignity for it, woman. You showed yourself. And look, there are people trying to identify her. Eventually, she'll probably be outed. We'll see. Now, talk about another story that will just enrage you. What about this story out of Charlotte? Just 2 weeks ago, a catastrophic failure of our justice system, our mental health system, and our political leadership. When we had this Ukrainian refugee, her name was Irina Zarutska. She was 23 years old. She fled the war in Ukraine in 2022, coming here to America, to Charlotte, to start a new life. She found a job at a local pizza parlor. She made friends. She was doing what refugees do best, trying to build something after running from destruction. And then, August 22nd, she boarded a Charlotte train after work. She found a seat, tucked her blonde hair under her baseball cap, pulled out her phone, just an ordinary evening commute home. Yet, it became very extraordinary. Sitting behind her was DeCarlos Brown. He's a 34-year-old homeless man with a rap sheet that stretches back nearly 2 decades. He's had assaults, robbery with a firearm, larceny, gun charges, even 5 years in prison. He was arrested at least 14 times. His own mother said he was schizophrenic and should not have been roaming free. But thanks to cashless-bail and a system more concerned with political correctness and public safety, he was roaming free. In fact, the last time he was arrested, and he was arrested for calling 911 and making insane claims about a man-made material controlling his mind, a judge let him walk with nothing more than a written promise to come back to appear in court later. You can guess how that turned out. On that train, you may have seen pieces of the video footage. Surveillance cameras captured it all. This young man pulled out a pocket knife, unfolded it, and in an unprovoked, cowardly attack, stabbed this Ukrainian refugee multiple times in the neck. Blood was everywhere. She never had a chance. He wandered the train afterwards, holding the blood-soaked knife like it was nothing. A young woman who escaped Putin's bombs in Ukraine was butchered by a career criminal on an American train because our system at every level failed to protect her. Now, let's start with the court system. DeCarlos Brown should never have been on the street. He had violent priors. He was a repeat offender. He'd already proven he was a danger to his own family. He assaulted his sister after getting out of prison. And yet, in January of this year, Magistrate Judge Teresa Stokes set him loose on a written promise to come back to court. That's what passes for justice in too many blue cities and counties today. Forget about the victims. Forget about community safety. The system bends over backwards to give repeat offenders another chance. Well, Judge Stokes, what about Irina's chance? What about her right to live, to thrive, to enjoy the freedom she thought that she had found in America? And this could have been anybody. It happened to be a Ukrainian refugee. It could have been an American citizen. Could have been a senior citizen. Number two, you got the political leadership in Charlotte. When this murder happened, what did the city's mayor, Vi Lyles, do? Did she speak the victim's name? Did she acknowledge the criminal history of the suspect? Did she vow to make mass transit safe again? No. She released a statement demanding compassion for the mentally ill, compassion for the killer. That's the kind of tone-deaf leadership that leaves law-abiding citizens shaking their head. Because compassion doesn't mean letting dangerous schizophrenics with long rap sheets roam the streets with knives. Compassion would have been making sure this man got treatment for his mental illness. That's compassion. Compassion would have been protecting the innocent passengers on that train. And then you have public safety on the Charlotte transit system. It's called CATS. Did you know that local police don't even patrol it anymore? Security has been outsourced to a private company called Professional Security Services, PSS. The contract says they should have 218 security officers system-wide. Guess what? They're short 32 positions right now. They have openings for 32 of the 218. And who was riding the train the night of this murder? No police, no real deterrent, just a homeless fare beater with a knife. That's the state of public safety in not only Charlotte, but too many other American cities. And this wasn't a one-off. Charlotte City Council members admitted that the murder that their constituents already had felt unsafe on buses and trains even before this happened. When the killers ride free and a fare evader runs rampant, of course people are going to feel unsafe. But here's the larger issue. This isn't about one judge or the mayor or the transit system. It's about an ideology. It's about a left-wing approach to crime and punishment that puts criminals first and victims dead last. Or we just don't care about the victims at all. We've seen it in New York. We see it in Chicago. We see it in San Francisco, Los Angeles, all the big cities. And now, right here in the Southeast, in Charlotte. Dangerous offenders are let loose on little or no bail at all. Leaders who downplay violent crime while obsessing over equity and compassion. Police departments defunded or sidelined while private security firms struggle to fill the gaps. The result, innocent people are paying the price, the ultimate price. And let's not forget, this young woman came to America to escape violence. She trusted that this country would be safer than war-torn Ukraine. But she wasn't safe on an American train. That ought to haunt every single politician who has defended cashless bail and soft-on-crime policies. So what do? We got to end cashless bail. We got to put dangerous repeat offenders in jail where they belong. We got to put police back on transit. Private security firms aren't enough. We got to fix the mental health issue. DeCarlos Brown's mother was begging for help years ago. He was schizophrenic, violent, unstable. He should have not been roaming the streets. We got to demand accountability from judges and politicians, and we got to hold their feet to the fire. There's a big story out of Clemson this week, and it's kind of interesting how it's all unfolded. A big shift just happened that ought to get everyone's attention. Clemson University has officially shut down multiple commissions, the kind of groups that for years have advised the school on the so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion issues. So here's the story. These weren't just one or two little committees. We're talking about commissions focused on the Black experience, Latino affairs, Asian American and Pacific Islanders, LGBTQ issues, women, veterans, accessibility, you name it. Clemson had a commission for it. But as of September the 3rd, according to the Post and Courier, they're all gone. Sunsetted is the word that the university used. They have sunset these commissions. And Clemson put out a very polite statement. They said these commissions successfully fulfilled their important charge and left a lasting impression on the campus. Then they thanked them for their work and turned the lights out. So let's pause right there, because on the surface, this is just another administrative shuffle at a big university. But if you look a little bit deeper, this is part of a much larger conversation happening across our country right now. A conversation about whether DEI programs are really about diversity or whether they become an ideological hammer that divides people more than it unites them. I think we know the answer to that question, don't we? Clemson didn't just close down a couple of student clubs. They shut down the infrastructure of DEI, the bureaucratic commissions that cost money, wield influence, and inject politics into every classroom, into faculty meetings, into hiring decisions, and admissions policies. And that matters because Clemson is right here, of course, in the Palmetto State, a state that's already been at the center of national debates over education, freedom, and fairness. Now, the timing here is kind of interesting, though. This is as big a part of the story as anything. Just one day before Clemson's announcement, the Heritage Foundation, the conservative think tank behind Project 2025, called Clemson out by name. They accused the school of keeping its DEI agenda alive under another name, a division of community engagement, belonging, and access. Heritage released a report called Uncovering Radical Efforts to Disguise DEI. And they made the case, which the Trump administration has also made, that these DEI offices aren't about fairness at all. They're discriminatory, they're divisive, and in many cases they violate civil rights by favoring some groups over others. We know that. We've known this since Joe Biden and Kamala Harris came up with these ideas, since they started pushing DEI like they did. Now, Clemson swears that the Heritage Report had nothing to do with their decision. Post-Courier said that a spokesman says they told the commission members in late August before Heritage published its report. But still, you got to think about the optics, because they're kind of interesting, aren't they? One day, Heritage drops the hammer. The next day, Clemson announces the DEI commissions are done. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. You tell me. Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com, and you'll get the very best price that Mike Lindell has to offer on all of his great products, like the standard MyPillow. They're only $19.98 right now when you use promo code Joey. You can get a king size for $29.98. You can get a queen size for $24.98. You can get the multi-use MyPillow for only $12.98, but you got to use promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-893-4059. So back to Clemson here. Let's not forget that there's been an investigation about Clemson's DEI practices. Specifically, the Department of Education is looking at Clemson's participation in the PhD project, a program meant to diversify business school faculty. The Trump administration has said that those kinds of programs may be illegal because they limit eligibility based on race. Now, let me remind you, President Trump has already warned that any school caught running race-conscious programs could lose federal funding. Clemson knows that. In fact, every school in America knows that. So when you put it all together, the Heritage Report, the Trump administration's stance, the federal investigation, Clemson's decisions start to look less like we're done with our mission and more like we see the writing on the wall. We are waking up to this. We've got to get out of this while we can. Now, here's another piece to chew on. In South Carolina, about 25% of the population is black. About 10% is Hispanic. At Clemson, just 5% of students are black, 8% are Hispanic. That's a pretty big gap. For years, Clemson has pointed to these commissions as their way of saying, see, we care, we're listening, we're working on it. But were they really moving the needle? Or were they just creating more bureaucracy, more paperwork, and more reasons to divide students into categories? Look, I've heard from parents who say their kids feel more pressure on campus to identify by group, their skin color, their gender, their sexuality, than to identify as Clemson Tigers. And that can be a problem. These DEI commissions often don't unite people. They sort them into boxes, put them into categories. They actually divide them. So what's Clemson's plan now? They say that employees can bring complaints to the Ombudsman's office. Faculty and staff still have their senates to represent them, and anyone who wants to gather around issues like veterans or women's rights or accessibility can do so as voluntary groups. In other words, you're free to get together and talk, but the university is no longer going to pay for an entire bureaucracy to run the show, to make the appearance that they're trying to do something to protect these groups. And that's a big change. And let's not kid ourselves. This is going to be a political flashpoint. You'll hear critics say that Clemson is abandoning marginalized students. They'll argue this is a rollback of progress, that we're going backwards. But what I see is Clemson trying to get ahead of a cultural and legal reckoning. Across the country, courts are questioning whether DEI programs cross the line into discrimination. Corporations are scaling back after realizing these initiatives cost millions, but they really don't deliver results. And voters, especially here in South Carolina and across the Southeast, are tired of their schools looking more like social experiments than places of learning. So here's my take. Clemson's move is part of a bigger return to basics, and kudos to them. Universities are being forced to ask, what is our mission? Is it to provide people in the categories and keep score, or is it to educate young men and women, all of them, so they can go out and succeed? I say the latter. And if you're Clemson or any university taking federal dollars, you got to answer this. Are you obeying the law, or are you breaking it under the banner of equity? For too long, DEI programs have been used as a shield. Critics get called racist or sexist if they dare question them. But now the tide's turning. Courts are speaking up. Parents are speaking up. Lawmakers are speaking up and standing up. And Clemson finally, and a lot of other schools too, I don't want to just single Clemson out, but the story is about Clemson. Clemson is reading the room finally. I think the bottom line is this. Clemson University just closed the door on its DEI commissions. And whether it was because the commissions fulfilled their mission, as they said, or because Clemson saw legal and political danger ahead, the result is the same. They're finally using common sense. One of the biggest universities in South Carolina, one of the most high-profile schools in the South, is stepping back from the DEI machine. They're waking up. And the leaders at Clemson are saying, we're getting back to the basics. We're going to treat everyone fairly, like we should. And if Clemson can do it, this is the bigger picture. If Clemson can do it, others will follow. The days of endless commissions, endless acronyms, and endless identity politics on campus may be numbered, and for a lot of parents, students, and taxpayers, it's long overdue. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Joining me on the guest line, Chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party, Drew McKissick. Welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well this morning. How are you, sir?
I am wonderful. Good to catch up with you again. We've missed a few weeks here. Last week, of course, Labor Day, and we're in the fall. It is nice and cool today, and of course we've had a couple of football weekends, and my energy is just renewed. I mean, I'm ready to go. What about you?
Well, look, anytime we get away from the 90 to 100 degree days, I'm feeling a lot better. Let's put it that way. So it's cooling off. That's good. And, football season gives us a little bit of something else to look at and think about other than just hot and politics and so forth. And despite the fact that we've already got a heating up gubernatorial campaign out there 9 months ahead of our primary, but, it will be entertaining.
Now, refresh my memory here, Drew. I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't remember things getting started so early in a gubernatorial race like this. Am I mistaking that, or is that correct?
No.
Yeah.
Well, at least as far as my memory, you're absolutely correct. I mean, we've got 5 candidates already, announced candidates on the Republican side. I think Democrats are still trying to, odd man or paper, scissors, rock over whoever's going to have to be their sacrificial lamb. But but to start this early in terms of, serious spending of money and some of the negativity that's already begun, I just hate to see that. It's very early. You don't want people to begin to get tired of, if you will, and soured on our candidates when you've got 9 months of this to go. So hopefully that's not going to be the case. And We're going to be able to have a primary season that will let our candidates get out there and just let folks know what they believe, what they stand for, let people pick the ones that they align with the best, work for them, help them. And then once we've got a primary, everybody else gets behind the winner, and then we go win in November. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Yep. And let's hope that it works like that.
That's right. Amen.
You know what? One thing too. I mean, we're already seeing some political ads, and so that means some of them are already spending money. And as someone who's been somewhat involved in campaigns over the years, I'm thinking, are you just throwing your money away? Are people even seriously watching these TV spots, listening to these radio ads? I mean, is it just so early that people just aren't really tuned in?
Well, you've got a lot of things that mix into what candidates or how candidates decide things, campaigns decide things. And, of course, some of it's good, some of it's not as good as I would like to see. Sometimes you've got, consultants who push candidates to do TV ads, I think sometimes too early because, hey, they get paid to do TV ads. And, people get a percentage of the buy and that kind of thing. And there's that kind of negative incentive. I think, you don't want to run the risk of it being white noise when you get into next year. You don't when you start so much so early, you run the risk of people beginning to tune out, and that's not what you want.
Yeah.
The main thing right now, anytime you're looking at a campaign, you start at the center of the bullseye and you work your way out. The center of the bullseye is the key party activists and volunteers within the grassroots around our state. Those are the people that you need to get on your team to then reach the next circle of the bullseye. The people who really aren't as tuned in as much, but they know the people who are, and they react to how those people react. And then you've got the bigger bullseye in the crowd you hit with TV ads and mass media later in the campaign who aren't going to tune in really until March or April of next year. Right now it's about the grassroots and the people at the center, and that's where I would urge all of our candidates at every level to spend most of their time.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of politics, elections, and delegates to county conventions, we still have this Pickens saga going on, and you guys met over the weekend. Give us an update on where we are with Pickens.
Sure. The State Executive Committee actually had a meeting this past Saturday. So following up on the motion that was passed at this preceding meeting to come forward with a plan for how to fix, the mess in Pickens County and reconstitute an organization there going forward. So they came forward with that plan on Saturday. It was debated, amended a little bit. The final result is there'll be another reorganization of a Pickens County Republican Party over the course of the next 60 to 90 days. So we're going to begin to lay the details out for that and when and where it happens and so forth. But that's the bottom line. You want a process that everyone can participate in. And unfortunately, what happened before was not a process everyone could participate in. As a matter of fact, this past week, we had more evidence brought forward that an additional 40 people were arbitrarily shut out of the process the last time. I actually have the hard copies of the forms that prove that. And, the executive committee took that into consideration and so forth. So, the best result would be essentially shuffling the deck again and then giving everybody an opportunity to come in and participate, and that's what we'll have.
Yeah. Well, that's good because, again, we want everybody who wants to be involved to have the opportunity to be involved, and it's just that simple.
By the way, I'll go further here, and that is, look, we've got an open governor's race, as we just talked about, attorney general's race, comptroller general's race, agriculture race, 2 open congressional seats around the state in this cycle, not to mention your local and state house stuff. We have to have every county organization hitting on all 8 cylinders next year.
Yeah.
And so it is in our interest to make sure we've got a good, well-organized, representative party in every county around the state, and that means Pickens too.
Yeah. Now, this is a bit unusual for something like this to happen. Are there party rules in place that will govern how this redo of the reorg happens?
Yes, there are. So, and then again, in the motion that the executive committee put forward this past week, laid out some of that, on top of existing party rules where they may be silent, how they like to see this proceed. Like I said, starting in the next 60 to 90 days, in terms of having the SCGOP cover the costs. So there's no additional cost to the county parties there and volunteers there, no cost to people to register for precinct meetings, county commissions, et cetera. So the party will pick up the cost of that. And along to, volunteers and folks from other counties who run other counties to come in and run local precinct meetings. So we know we've got people who are experienced in doing this and less likely to have problems.
Yeah. Drew McKissick, chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party. It's always a pleasure. Appreciate your time, and we'll be watching this process as it unfolds.
Fantastic. Well, look, you have a great day, sir.
You too. And again, just go to scgop.com, scgop.com. To support the state Republican Party, you can click on the support and donate button. You can click on the get involved button if you'd like to get involved in the party. scgop.com. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.